Hello and good evening. The nation is making progress in its battle against coronavirus pandemic. The recovery rate has gone up further today to 23.3%. And we'll be talking about that in Newsnight tonight, along with the big question of the way forward in this fight. I'm Gautam Roy. We'll also be talking about plasma therapy for treating COVID-19 with experts, which right now is going through clinical trials in the country at a national level. But first, our headlines. The central government says plasma therapy for COVID-19 is subject to a national level trial under the ICMR at this stage. Its unauthorized use could be harmful apart from being illegal. Active coronavirus cases stand at 22,010 nationwide, 937 people dead and 7,026 patients recovered so far. The government says the lockdown is proving to be effective. Health Ministry says before lockdown, the doubling rate was 3 days, which is now increased to more than 10 days. Recovery rate has also improved further. Union Health Minister Dr. Harshvardhan says no fresh COVID case in 80 districts for over the last 7 days. The minister also reviews status of COVID surveillance in Delhi through video conferencing. The health minister says we will be able to produce RT-PCR and antibody test kits in India by May. In a video conference with biotech companies, declares it will help India meet the target of 1 lakh tests per day by the 31st of May. Prime Minister Narendra Modi discusses COVID-19 pandemic with Indonesian President Joko Widodo, says close cooperation between the two nations will be important in dealing with the challenges posed by the crisis. Asian Development Bank approves $1.5 billion loan to fund India's response to the novel coronavirus pandemic. The loan is aimed at boosting India's disease containment and prevention efforts. Speaking at the BRICS Foreign Ministers video conference meeting, External Affairs Minister S. Jaishankar says India instituted measures to check COVID-19 much before it was declared a public health emergency. Global tally of COVID-19 cases increases to more than 30,62,000 and death toll crosses 2,12,000. US leads the toll with over 56,000 deaths. Well, India is making progress in combating the coronavirus outbreak, while credit for that in part goes to the lockdown which was imposed nationwide on the 25th of last month. On the flip side is the massive efforts made by our doctors, healthcare workers, essential service providers and people in general. The government has constantly been monitoring all activities and making changes in rules and policies to ensure optimal use is made of available resources in services of the nation while observing all precautions. The way forward is also being deliberated, and there is ample reason to keep your chin up. Take a look.
Various union ministers held meetings on Tuesday to review functioning in their respective ministries. The Health Minister Dr. Harshvardhan reviewed the current status of COVID surveillance in Delhi with Lieutenant Governor Delhi, Delhi Health Minister, MCD Commissioners, DMs and DCPs of all districts of Delhi and central, state and district surveillance officers and heads of government hospitals through video conferencing. Dr. Harshvardhan also held meetings with autonomous institutions and PSUs under the Department of Biotechnology through video conferencing. He briefed about the current situation of COVID-19 in the country. He said that no fresh case was reported in 80 districts since last 7 days. 17 districts have not reported a case for last 28 days. He also highlighted a further decline in the doubling rate. The minister said that for the last 14 days, the doubling rate is 8.7, while for the last 7 days, it is 10.2 days. In last 3 days, it is 10.9 days.
Pre-lockdown, our doubling rate of cases was around 3 days. But when I talk to you today, for the last 14 days our doubling rate had been 8.7, and for the last 7 days it had been 10.2, and today for the last 3 days when we calculate it is roughly 10.9.
He added that India will be able to produce RT-PCR and antibody test kits within the country by May. This will help the country to achieve the target of 1 lakh tests per day by May 31st.
सब चीज़ें एडवांस्ड स्टेज में है. बहुत जल्दी ICMR की क्लियरेंस होते ही विद इन ए वीक वो सब चीज़ें प्रोडक्शन स्टेज में चली जाएंगी. जैसा कि हमारा टारगेट है कि 31 मई तक हम 1 लाख टेस्ट देश में करना चाहते हैं हर रोज़. उस टारगेट को अचीव करने में भी ये डेवलपमेंट हमें बहुत मदद करेगी.
Information Technology Minister Ravi Shankar Prasad also had an interaction with the IT ministers of all the states. He said that an app is being prepared to share the best practices of states to deal with the COVID-19 pandemic.
वर्क फ्रॉम होम नॉर्म को और हमको पॉपुलराइज करना है. तो इसके लिए आपको मालूम है रेस्ट्रिक्शंस काफी होते हैं. 1-8 करोड़ रुपए का डिपॉजिट होता है, क्लियरेंसेस होता है. तो उसको हमने कोरोना के आने के बाद रिलैक्स किया था. अभी तक वो 30 अप्रैल तक रिलैक्स था. हमने ये फैसला किया है कि अब ये 31 जुलाई तक रिलैक्स रहेगा.
Raksha Mantri Rajnath Singh too reviewed contribution of defence public sector undertaking units and Ordnance Factory Board to fight COVID-19 and their operational plans. Union HRD Minister Ramesh Pokhriyal Nishank also held a meeting via video conferencing with state education ministers and discussed issues related to COVID-19 and midday meal program. He said that the complete syllabus of CBSE and NCERT is available on Diksha portal.
CBSE NCERT का पूरा पाठ्यक्रम दीक्षा पोर्टल पर आपको मिल जाएगा. एक राज्य को छोड़कर के देश के सभी राज्यों ने दीक्षा पोर्टल पर अपने को जोड़ा है और वो विद्यादान 1 करके हम लोगों ने इसको शुरू किया था. और मुझे इस बात को कहते हुए बहुत खुशी है, दीक्षा पोर्टल के माध्यम से हम पूरे देश के छात्रों को दे पा रहे हैं.
Apart from this, other ministries to discuss steps to combat coronavirus pandemic and measures to be taken to contain the virus spread while coming up with ways to ensure the nation can find its way back to making the economy flourish once the challenge is tackled. Newsnight Desk, DD India.
And that brings up our In Focus, the first one of the evening tonight, combating COVID-19 way forward. And to talk about it, we have Dr. Anup Agarwal, Principal Investigator ICMR, with us in our studio, and also Dr. Sachin Chaturvedi, DG RS for developing countries. Welcome to you both. First, to you, Dr. Agarwal, at what stage do you think our country is at the moment in terms of, picking the pieces up of economic activity, considering the way this pandemic is progressing in the country at this stage?
I think the lockdown has been very successful in slowing the spread of coronavirus. The R0 has come down significantly. The reduction of the spread of the coronavirus has been very significant. If you look at the curves that were predicted, and if you look at the curve of the epidemic, it's very much flattened. Although there has been a lot of challenges with the economic activities, but going forward, we have to measure both the aspects, the lockdown and spread of coronavirus, and the adverse effects because of the lack of economic activities. And the lockdown may be continued till 3rd May, and then we'll see depending on how the epidemic is progressing.
Very interesting data points were thrown out in the briefing today, which was held by the government, the health ministry and the home ministry, that if you look at the population, the top 20 countries that have the cases, they add up to the number of people that we have in India, and yet the infection rate there is some 84 times more, and deaths are over 200 times. So that is very encouraging. But at the same time, the cases are still increasing cumulatively in India, aren't they?
Yes. So we have to understand this, that herd immunity will be achieved only after 50% of the population is infected.
Okay.
The lockdown has slowed the spread of the infection. Our health systems are not getting overwhelmed. So those are the good things. The cases have been very mild, and most of the recovery rate has been improving. and the spread is also slowing down. So those have been the positives from that, as you said.
And as we ramp up testing, do you feel that will be more helpful? Because today the Health Minister announced that we will soon have indigenous kits, both the RT-PCR one as well as the antibody one. Both will be there in adequate numbers. About 1 lakh tests will be conducted perhaps per day by the 31st of May. Do you think that will be helpful as well in ensuring that the way forward is a much safer one?
So that will be a game changer. As we have more and more rapid kits, we can do zero surveillance. What that means is we can find out what percentage of the population is affected, and then we can take district wise decisions. Say if a district has high number of prevalence of coronavirus positivity, we can lock that district down. Say if a district has very few cases based on the number of testing, then we can open those districts. And so testing will be a big game changer. RT-PCR along with rapid kits, if we can have both, that'll be so great.
But are we there yet at some sort of a stage where this sort of a staggered removal of lockdown could take place, say for the green zones? Is that something within the realm of feasibility by the 3rd of May?
That is being discussed. We have to take it each day at a time, because this disease spreads very fast, and we have to understand that lockdown opening will be various things. Do you open transport? Do you open railways? Do you open flights? And everything has its own dimension. So all of that has to be thought through. And India has done very good in limiting the spread. We were very active in airport screening from the beginning, and that's why we've done so good. And we have to maintain this, but we also have to respect the fact that the economic activity has taken a downturn, and so we have to open it, but very cautiously.
Right. Now we've already started some extent of opening up from the 20th, Dr. Chaturvedi. What sort of an experience has that been for the industry so far? What is your assessment, and going forward, to what extent can this be then built upon?
Gautam, if you look at agriculture sector, I think the report today that has come out from the Ministry of Chemicals and Fertilizers is a very positive and very pragmatic, I think, report from agriculture and rural perspective. But your question about industry, I think in quite a few sectors, 30 to 40% units are coming back to life, and that I think is very encouraging. Quite a few of them are part of the essential services, particularly the pharmaceutical industry, related IT services, and of course the biopharma and biotechnology related industries. So they are coming back. The second sector that I see having this positive comeback is the food processing, and quite a few units are back to life. 35 to 40% of them are there. And third and final is in terms of the IT bagged manufacturing sectors, particularly in some southern states, they have come back, particularly in Tamil Nadu, they are back. So there are these positive indications of industry coming back, but at a very gradual pace.
Yes, even in the case of Maharashtra, I was reading one of the reports where the industry minister there said that almost 14,500 units have applied to start functioning again, and this is within the parameters of the revised guidelines. So these are encouraging signs, considering that Maharashtra is one of the most affected states at the moment.
And after lockdown, I think Gautam, one of the biggest challenge would be the working capital that is required by the small and medium enterprises, because quite a few of them are in this arrangement of circulating the cash and the turnover that is there in terms of putting it back in the cycle, and that has got disrupted. So they require support. I'm glad that the Reserve Bank of India has come out with enough support measures that are there to kickstart the units, but it is, I think, much more is required. Now industry is demanding that instead of those 3 months, we require for 6 months. So some of those I think arrangements would have to be worked out. Finance Ministry has assured the banking regulatory architecture is now much more congenial in terms of extending the supporting hand to them, and that I think would be helping.
And would labour force also remain a concern, provided, because even if we were to restart in some other sectors, I doubt if 100% workforce will be allowed to, return to factories in the first instance.
Absolutely right, Gautam. As Dr. Agarwal was mentioning a while ago, the opening up would be a big challenge. You have to have these trade-offs. So what part of communication is first opened up, which districts? And I think if you look at the health minister's statement this afternoon, he says around 300 districts are the safer ones where we can immediately start. Now, as we have seen in Delhi and Mumbai, a huge migration, reverse migration has happened. And as you rightly said, I mean, even if 30 to 40% people come back, it would be good to begin the things.
Right, right. And Dr. Agarwal, what remains a concern still is, our largest cities, where 15 cities, I guess, are responsible for more than 70% of the active cases at present, where the fact that there are still cases going up in numbers remains a huge concern. The Delhi LG today was talking about micro containment strategies now. Now, what could these micro containment strategies be and how would they help?
So, talking about cities, we have to understand that our cities are very overcrowded, and it will be very difficult to contain the virus within the cities without a lockdown strategy. So, a micro containment strategy sounds perfect if we want to open up slowly, but also contain the virus. I think what a micro containment strategy will be, that if there is a case in a certain population, then within a certain amount of radius, everything is locked down, and then nothing is allowed to go inside that area, and then nothing is allowed to come outside of that area. We do thermal screenings in that area. We do we promote social distancing, maintain hygiene, and all these public health measures, and we hope that the transmission goes down in that area, and we slowly open up that area.
And as we open up, and as we have opened up, Dr. Chaturvedi, what will of course be watched very closely is that even while these economic activities are being allowed in certain areas, the ones that are green zones, so to speak, social distancing norms are strictly adhered to, because if they're not and cases crop up again, people might be back at square one, and that will happen with economic activity as well.
Exactly, and Gautam, if you see out of 736 districts, 170 districts in around 20 states and 5 union territories are red zones, and that is one of the biggest challenges, as Prime Minister indicated in his interaction.
And these are the more industrialized, more
congested, they are the ones which were actually part of India's external sector, and these were the units, these were the industries that are housed in these 20 states. So you see the mega connect has completely gone haywire. So Prime Minister's suggestion to bring these red into orange and orange into green and green into industrial production zone, I think that's the strategy for next 3 to 4 months.
And at the same time look for opportunities even from other countries, such as it was mentioned China, industries might be shifting.
Yes, that's a big opportunity, and it's not only that. If you see in last 5 weeks, more and more of our units are now providing support to the pharmaceutical demand from several of the affected countries, and almost 48 countries have already approached India for exports of pharmaceutical products. So that I think is a huge opportunity. The second one comes in from the compensation package that US is providing to their own industry, where our industrial units are queuing up. The third dimension comes in from the disrupted value chains with China and other countries, where our dependence was as high as 38% for our exports, and that I think if we are able to and succeed in localization of those value chains, then definitely many more jobs would be created.
Well, let's hope that we can head down that road pretty soon. Thanks for joining us this evening, Dr. Chaturvedi. I'll request Dr. Agarwal to be with us a little bit longer, because we'll be talking about something that is right up his alley as well in just a bit from now. Let's move on for the time being. Well, there's better news emerging from the regular Health and Home Ministry briefing on COVID-19. What's happening is that India's recovery rate has climbed further up to 23.3%, with 684 patients recovering in the last 24 hours, which also saw 1,543 new cases being reported all across the country. It was also informed that the government has issued new self-isolation guidelines where only mild pre-symptomatic people are considered fit for self-quarantine. Anyone under home quarantine has to be monitored closely. The Health Ministry has further said that plasma therapy is in early stages in India, where it is simply being experimented upon. So far, there is no evidence that it is to be used for treatment. It has also not been approved by ICMR for treatment as yet. The Home Ministry also informed that IMCT Surat is tracking COVID patients through G-mapping. Door-to-door surveys are also being conducted along with extensive testing. Food packets are being distributed in Surat for migrant labourers. Gram Yodha Samitis are distributing essential commodities in these districts as well.
अहमदाबाद में जो ग्रामीण एरिया है वहाँ हर ग्राम पंचायत में एक ग्राम योद्धा समिति का गठन किया गया है। ग्राम योद्धा समिति में सरपंच है, विलेज हेडमैन है, हेल्थ वर्कर है, हेडमास्टर है, तलाटी इत्यादि हैं। ये समिति जो है लॉकडाउन का पालन करते हुए गांव में राशन, सब्जी, दवाइयाँ इत्यादि को डोर स्टेप पे डिलीवर करती है। इसके अलावा वो आवाजाही पे और लॉकडाउन के नियमों के पालन पर भी नजर रखती है। IMCT का सुझाव है कि इस इनिशिएटिव को बाकी राज्यों द्वारा भी अपनाया जा सकता है।
Now, of late, there's been a lot of talk about plasma therapy in the context of those suffering from coronavirus infection. The Health Ministry has made it clear today that for now, plasma therapy is at a trial stage in the country at the national level. Evidence to support its use as treatment for COVID-19 still doesn't exist, and its unauthorized use could be counterproductive apart from being illegal. But plasma therapy has been successful in the past with other viral outbreaks, and there is some reason to hope that it may prove useful in tackling severe coronavirus infections as well. Here's why.
Indian Council of Medical Research, or ICMR, recently allowed states to start clinical trials of plasma therapy. A detailed protocol has been issued by the research body refining the guidelines to conduct the trial. Institutions and hospitals in Delhi, Gujarat, Kerala, Maharashtra and Punjab have also started trials using plasma therapy. The idea behind this therapy is that immunity can be transferred from a healthy person to a sick patient using convalescent plasma.
कन्वलेसेंट प्लाज्मा एक टाइप की थेरेपी है, कई और इन्फेक्शन में कई वर्षों से ट्राई की गई है। ये थेरेपी में ऐसा होता है कि जो पेशेंट्स ठीक हो गए हैं, ये एंटीबॉडीज़ जो हैं ये शरीर में रहती हैं, खून में रहती हैं, वो इंसान अपना ब्लड डोनेट करे और उसका हम प्लाज्मा उस ब्लड से निकालें तो उस प्लाज्मा में ये एंटीबॉडीज़ पाई जाती हैं।
However, one must remember that convalescent plasma therapy for COVID-19 is still in the experimental stage across the world.
This is not a proven therapy. It is still in experimental stage. And till that, right now even ICMR is doing it as a experiment, pan-Indian experiment to identify and do additional understanding of this particular therapy. And till the time it is approved, no one should use it, and it will be harmful to the patient as well as also it will be illegal.
People who have fully recovered from coronavirus can save lives of people by donating their plasma. The donor plays an important role. Plasma is extracted from their blood, as our doctors often do in case of dengue patients. Ahmedabad Sardar Vallabhbhai Patel Hospital is one of the first in the country to start trials in plasma therapy on COVID-19 patients. Delhi government has also decided to conduct plasma therapy trials on 3 more patients at Lok Nayak Jayaprakash Narayan Hospital.
अगर किसी पेशेंट को जो कोविड से लड़ रहा है उसको हम यही प्लाज्मा ट्रांसफ्यूज़ करें तो वो एंटीबॉडीज़ उसके शरीर में चली जाएंगी और उसके खून में आ जाएंगी और वो एकदम उसके बॉडी को बूस्ट देंगी इस इन्फेक्शन से लड़ने के लिए।
So far, plasma therapy trials in India have shown positive results. If they are found to be widely successful, the battle against coronavirus will get a booster shot. With Nitendra Singh, Bureau Report, DD India.
Things up are in focus tonight. COVID-19 understanding plasma therapy, and Dr. Anup Agarwal is with us. Remember, he's principal investigator of the Indian Council for Medical Research, that's the ICMR, and Dr. S.K. Sareen, director ILBS, is also with us on the phone line. Dr. Sareen, If I could come to you first, what are your thoughts in the first place on plasma therapy for COVID-19? It's a trial stage right now in India, but in terms of its effectiveness, how hopeful are you that it might at some point get a designation as a treatment for COVID-19?
Gautam, as you asked rightly, and I think also the Ministry of Health clearly informed today that it is in a trial stage, and trial means half the people get the plasma from donors who have got infection in the past with COVID and have good antibodies against COVID virus. And another half gets a routine standard plasma which has no COVID fighting capacity. Now when you give these to people without knowledge, and you find that, let's say you have given it to 10 people, those who have got COVID plasma, where the antibodies to fight the virus are there, they get better, they survive. Compared to the others, it shows some very interesting, promising results. And the patients who are picked up for this are those patients who are having respiration more than 30 per minute. Those who have breathing difficulty may go on to ventilator or have severe pneumonia. Now, if you can save such patients and the results show that initial, I think then only one can say it is good. So as of now, trials have started. One small trial at ILBS where there is the blood collection, plasma for COVID people, and Maulana Azad and Lok Nayak where there are the patients. Now, we will be knowing within next, let's say, 2 to 3 weeks whether these patients are getting better. While ICMR in the country has a very large trial, and if the trial results come in next 3 months, then of course we have some hope. But if someone asks me like you and me, sir, will I get a plasma from COVID and will I get better? It will be just like tossing a coin. It can be yes, it can be no. So as of now, nobody should do therapy or recommend therapy without under close supervision, without trial. But yes, it has a lot of science. And the science behind is very strong, that somebody, there is no way, we don't have any vaccine.
Okay.
Vaccine only prevents, infection, but here are people who are infected. So how do you treat a person? Let's say somebody has pneumonia. You give antibiotic. An antibiotic will kill the bacteria. For virus, you need an antiviral, but there is no virus killing drug for corona. So there is no antiviral. So if you have no antiviral, what do you have? You have antibodies made in a person who was infected. So he is a factory. From that, in a healthy donor, if you take such a plasma which has antibodies which can neutralize the virus in another infected sick guy, I think this can be a huge advantage. But we have to wait till the results come. And let's say we have a trial, then it is peer reviewed by somebody. The drug controllers and others have a close watch. Once it gets better, I think we may have a lead. But as of now, only under trial. Don't experiment without a doctor's supervision.
And Dr. Sareen, this is at a trial stage in our country because people are very curious about this therapy because there have been cases reported from abroad as well where it has proved to be effective in treating people with severe COVID-19 symptoms, and people feel that this is something that should be freely available, which is not the case, and that is the right stand perhaps for the government to take.
I will explain you. There are 2 published reports, one of 5 patients in the US and second of 10 patients in the US, where without a randomized trial, without people being, everybody got the plasma. So that is not the way science is done. And today there are many people who want to do, and there are 2 types of trials. One is a phase 2, which is for safety, if the product is safe, and then is phase 3, where you find out whether the drugs are actually in a large population group. So India is still in stage 2 and early stage 2 phases. Stage 3 will be maybe ICMR's trial. So those studies which people are quoting कि भाई एक मरीज, 1 मरीज, patient ठीक हो गया, वहाँ पे 5 ठीक हो गए, that is not the way. We will have to wait. People are very hopeful. They are looking for a ray of hope. But as a scientist, as a clinician, as a researcher, my advice is wait for some time. Don't give it even on, asking the patient. Yes.
Dr. Sareen, I'll request you to stay on the line with us. I have Dr. Agarwal of the ICMR with us. Dr. Agarwal, just explain to us how does this trial process work and why is it so necessary for this sort of a theoretically, because it seems that since plasma therapy has worked in other diseases as well, there is a history there of it being used for MERS, for SARS, for even dengue in India, I believe, that it could be successful here as well. So why the need for a trial? Why the need to be so cautious?
Okay, let me explain this again. So first thing, plasma therapy has never been proven successful in any disease before conclusively. It was used in SARS, yes, but was it successful? We don't know. It was used in MERS. Was it successful? We don't know. Whenever epidemic happens or a pandemic happens, everyone jumps on to a silver bullet and they think that this will work, and there is no good science that is done, and we are back to square one with the next epidemic. In Ebola, this was used, and there was a good trial done by MSF in Guinea, and it showed that it did not work.
Okay.
So we don't exactly know whether it works or not. So that's the first thing. And COVID is a new disease. So even if it worked in previous diseases, which it did not, but even if it worked, we need to study it again. We need to have good science. This is not an easy therapy. It's not a pill that you can give and then it'll be fine. You take plasma from someone else's body, someone who has just recovered 28 days back, and taking that is a massive toll on someone's body. So that's the first thing. When you give the plasma, it can cause reactions. So it's not an easy therapy. It's not a simple pill. So that's why you need to study it. You need to make sure that it works. So what we do in a trial is half the patients will get plasma,
right,
half the patients won't get plasma.
But the patients will know that they're part of the trial, and they will feel that they are getting both the sides. The ones who are getting it actually and the ones who are not getting it will feel that they are getting it. So one will get the actual thing and one will get a placebo.
So there are different types of trials.
Okay.
So the one you are talking about is a blinded study in which nor the doctor nor the patient, no one knows who's getting the drug and who isn't. The ICMR trial is not blinded.
Okay.
So half the patients will get plasma plus the standard of care. The other half of the patients will just get standard of care and no placebo, because in this case the placebo would have been regular plasma, which is a good amount of fluid, and we did not want to give that.
Okay. Okay. Dr. Sareen, this sort of a strategy, do you feel is the best way forward in terms of coming to some sort of a conclusive treatment for COVID-19, although there are doubts that whether it can be used in a widespread manner in any case, because donors are limited?
Well, I must say that if this therapy and if the results are good, it will be good. You know, like you take a drug for blood pressure, how do you find out it is good and bad? So one group gets sugar pill, one group gets the drug which is actually going to work in blood pressure. And then you find that the drug for blood pressure is superior to a sugar pill. And then you say, okay, I can recommend this particular dose, and then you look at safety. So if the plasma therapy is found to be safe and it is found to be effective, I think it is very good. And I would like to add what Dr. from ICMR said, that normally when you give blood, you take out 300 ml or so of blood and the whole blood goes. Your white cell, your red cell, your platelet, everything goes.
Yes.
While in plasma therapy, and plasma is 92% water. So what is your liquid part of the blood is mainly water. So plasma is proteins plus water. So when you take plasmapheresis, you are actually not depleting the blood cells. So a machine takes away the proteins, the plasma, and the rest of the blood gets into the body.
Okay.
So compared to donation of blood, it is much safer and less riskier, and people can
for the
donate
donor.
For the donor. And as as a clinician, as a part of trial, the donors are very carefully monitored. He has to have good weight, good hemoglobin, should not have, any other comorbidity like diabetes or blood pressure. So healthy person who has recovered, they can donate very well the plasma. Of course, after that you make them rest for a while, and after donating plasma, they can go back. And sometimes people in other countries have given second time or third time. You can give 12 times plasma in a year. So, as your question was, will it be useful for the country? Those people who are very sick, even antivirals may not work because it is a late stage. There are 3 stages of corona. First is the viremic, when the virus multiplies. Second is the pneumonia or pulmonary stage. And third is the cytokine or advanced stage, when the body produces too many metabolites.
Right.
So in the first phase, antivirals, the drugs will work, and the world is working on antivirals. But in second stage or third stage, there are not many options. So if plasma therapy trials show good results, which is a big question, but if it shows, I think India has enough donors. Maybe we will have 15,000-20,000, and we can save thousands of lives if it works. But we have to wait for some time.
Okay. How much time, Dr. Agarwal, do you think one will have to wait to know whether this is an effective strategy or not, an effective treatment or not?
So the sample size of our study, which means the amount of patients we will be enrolling for the study, is 452.
Okay.
So to enroll 452,
this is for stage 2.
yes, for the study that ICMR is doing. So to enroll all the 452 patients and to follow them up for 28 days, we think may take 3 to 6 months. But when we are done with 150 patients, we will assess if we see that the plasma therapy was extremely effective, we stop the trial there and we say, okay, this works, we no need to continue with the trial, and we can use this as therapy. But we have to wait for at least till 150 patients are done. So yeah.
Okay, and are you getting a good number of, there are patients of course, but are you getting good number of donors for the plasma, the kind that are required? The blood group should match, the RH factor should match. Apart from general health parameters, you have to conduct tests of whether the donor is disease free in terms of all those red flags that go up if somebody has malaria or some other disease.
So the trial has started at only one site. Within the next 3 days, we will probably start in 20 sites. So that's the first thing. Second thing, we have to understand, if there are 100 COVID patients, only 10 or 15% will need plasma therapy, because only 10 to 15% get sick. So whereas we have 100 people who can donate, we have only 15 people who need it. So the proportion of people who need the plasma will be very low, and the people who can donate is very high. So there is a lot of optimism if this works.
And is there a fixed parameter for effectiveness? That is, if you said it's about 150 patients or 450 patients, what percentage, if they get better, will you think that this therapy is effective?
So that will involve a lot of statistics.
Okay.
I don't remember the numbers off the top of my head, but we are saying if this is more than 50% effective.
Okay.
So say in the control group where they are not getting the plasma, if say out of 100, X number of people did not get better, and within the plasma group, if X by 2 number of people did not get better, we will say this works.
Okay. Okay, Dr. Sareen, does that sound good to you?
Yes, I think it's good. We do hope that the trial gets momentum and it works. And our trial is rather small at ILBS Maulana Azad, and we hope we should have some early results which may be supported or disputed later. But the country needs this data. Rapidly we need it, because we don't have options other than this. But that doesn't mean we try till the trial results are there.
Right. Well, the country needs the data, the world needs the data. Coronavirus world over is still growing, and anything that can save lives, even one, will be extremely useful, provided that it is clinically proven that it is. And we're on the road to that in India here, which is quite an endeavor in itself. Let's hope that we are successful in determining whether plasma therapy is an effective treatment for COVID-19 at this stage. Thank you a lot for joining us, Dr. Sareen and Dr. Agrawal for staying for virtually the entire show. Thank you for joining us this evening. Okay, moving on. Home Minister Amit Shah has expressed grief on the demise of Central Police Reserve Forces Sub-Inspector Mohammad Ikram Hussain, who lost his life after battling with coronavirus. The CRPF Jawan was admitted to Delhi Safdarjung Hospital a few days back after being detected positive of the virus. In a tweet, the Home Minister said, and I quote, "I am deeply saddened to learn about the death of the brave CRPF Sub-Inspector Mohammad Ikram Hussain. He fought bravely with the virus until the end. His contribution to the service and internal security of the country inspires all of us." I had spoken to the family of Sub-Inspector Ikram Hussain day before yesterday. Losing a brave soldier of the country is an irreparable loss for all of us. I express my condolences to his family. The entire country and the central government are standing with his family in this hour of grief. The Minister of Road Transport and Highways, Nitin Gadkari, has called upon all states and union territories to take urgent action so that blockades of trucks and lorries at interstate and union territory borders is cleared at the earliest possible, as smooth movement of essential goods to various parts of the country is important. This, he said, needs to be given urgent attention by facilitating truck movement to ease up lives of the public in the light of lockdown announced to curb COVID-19 pandemic. Speaking at the meeting of the state and union territory road transport ministers held through video conferencing, Nitin Gadkari urged the ministers to intervene in such matters and ensure resolution through local as well as district administrations. Gadkari further pointed out that transportation of labour to factories, etc. may be facilitated by duly following the health protocols of maintaining minimum 1 meter distance, wearing masks, using sanitizers, etc. The Ministry of Agriculture and Farmers Welfare has said that wheat harvesting across the country is continuing at a brisk pace amidst the lockdown. In a press release, the ministry informed that farmers and workers are adhering to SOPs related to crop harvesting and threshing during Kharif 2020. The Department of Agriculture has circulated the SOPs to the states for compliance in order to protect health of farmers and farm workers and to contain the spread of coronavirus. The ministry also informed that the procurement of pulses and oilseeds at MSP from farmers under the price support scheme in 2020-21 Rabi season is currently in progress in Karnataka, Andhra Pradesh, Telangana, Rajasthan, Maharashtra, Uttar Pradesh and Haryana. 403 flights have been operated under Lifeline Udan in domestic sector by Air India, Alliance Air, IAF and private carriers. 235 of these flights have been operated by Air India and Alliance Air. Lifeline Udan flights cover a distance of over 3,97,632 kilometers to deliver essential and medical supplies of around 748.68 tons till the 27th of April 2020 for people across the country. Lifeline Udan flights are being operated by the Ministry of Civil Aviation to transport essential medical cargo to remote parts of the country to support India's war against COVID-19. Now, the Ministry of Shipping has announced a 50 lakh rupees compensation for port employees or workers in case of loss of life due to COVID-19. All port employees, including contractual labourers employed directly by the port and other contractual employees, are covered. This compensation shall remain in force till the 30th of September 2020. And keeping up the momentum, speedier EPF disbursal during lockdown, the Employees Provident Fund Organisation has settled a total of 12.91 lakh claims, including 7.4 lakh COVID-19 claims under Pradhan Mantri Garib Kalyan Yojana package. This involves disbursal of a total of 4,684.52 crore rupees, which includes 2,367.65 crore rupees COVID-19 claims under PMGKY package. The provision for a special withdrawal from the EPF scheme to fight COVID-19 pandemic is part of the PMGKY scheme announced by the government. Under this provision, non-refundable withdrawal to the extent of the basic wages and dearness allowances for 3 months or up to 75% of the amount standing to members' credit in the EPF account, whichever is less, is provided. Despite only 1/3 staff being able to work due to lockdown, EPFO is committed to serving its members during this difficult situation, and EPFO officers are functional to help them during these testing times. Moving further, people have recovered from COVID-19 and they're being applauded by hospital staff as well. They've expressed gratitude towards medics as well as government for care and hospitality being given to them during treatment. These people have defeated the pandemic and have been discharged from hospital. Take a look.
Senior citizen Ramcharan Gupta, resident of Vanganga, Indore, has returned back to the normal life by defeating coronavirus. He was being treated at the MV hospital. Ramcharan Gupta appreciated the hospital staff and physicians.
बहुत अच्छा लगा यहाँ के स्टाफ के प्रति और स्टाफ निचला स्तर तक का बहुत सावधानी पूर्वक बहुत अच्छे से भाईचारे से व्यवहार करते हुए यहाँ हम लोगों को सेवाएं दी.
2 more patients who recovered from coronavirus expressed gratitude towards medical staff and government for proper care and hospitality during the treatment.
नाम अनस है, हम सिनेमा के रहने वाले हैं. हमें अच्छा ट्रीटमेंट मिला है यहाँ पर और हम स्वस्थ होकर घर जा रहे हैं. मैं लोगों से यही अपील करता हूँ कि अपना अपना घर में रहे और स्वस्थ रहे और खांसी बुखार या फिर कुछ भी बीमार लगे तो अपना इलाज करवाएं.
यहाँ का स्टाफ अच्छा है, सब टाइम से देते हैं, गोली दवा भी, डॉक्टर भी अच्छे से जांच करते हैं. आज मैं खुश होकर घर जा रही हूँ.
Savai Mansingh Hospital of Jaipur has cured the oldest 90-year-old Jaipur resident who was a corona patient. This is the first such case in the state in which a 90-year-old patient has been treated successfully. The hospital staff gave him an affectionate send-off after he recovered. Dr. Gordhan Meena, in charge of SMS infectious disease, said that COVID-19 can be conquered by positive thinking and timely treatment. He also stated that proper precautions need to be taken to prevent the spread of the virus.
अनुशासन में है तो वो नेगेटिव आते हैं. जैसे कि हमारे 90 साल के जो मरीज, उन्होंने अपना हौसला रखा, सहन शक्ति रखी, इसलिए आज वो जो है यहाँ से बिल्कुल ठीक होके जा रहे हैं. तो मैं तो आज ये कहना चाहूँगा कि घबराएं नहीं और हमेशा हौसला रखें, धैर्य रखें.
Recovered patients said that there is no need to be scared of this disease, adding that the spread can be prevented by taking precautions and following the guidelines of the government to stay at home and maintain social distancing norms. Newsnight Desk, DD India.
Now, the Asian Development Bank has approved a $1.5 billion loan to the government of India to help fund its response to COVID-19 pandemic. This includes support for immediate priorities such as disease containment and prevention, as well as social protection for the poor and economically vulnerable sections of society, especially women and disadvantaged groups. In a press release, the bank said ADB is fully committed to supporting the government of India in its response to its unprecedented challenge. The Quick Disbursing Fund is part of a larger package of support that ADB will provide in close coordination with the government and other development partners. Prime Minister Narendra Modi spoke over the phone today with Joko Widodo, the President of Indonesia. The two leaders exchanged thoughts about the spread of COVID-19 pandemic in the region and the world. The Indonesian President appreciated the facilitation provided by the Government of India for supplies of pharmaceutical products to Indonesia. Prime Minister Modi assured him that India would do its best to prevent disruption in supplies of medical products or other commodities traded between the two countries. The leaders discussed issues related to their citizens present in each other's countries and agreed that their teams would remain in touch to ensure all possible facilitation in this regard. Prime Minister Modi underlined the fact that Indonesia is an important maritime partner in India's extended neighborhood, and the strength of the bilateral relationship would help both countries in fighting the effects of the pandemic. He also conveyed greetings for the holy month of Ramadan to President Widodo and to the friendly people of Indonesia. Prime Minister also exchanged thoughts with the Canadian Prime Minister Justin Trudeau. In a tweet, Prime Minister Modi said, and I quote, had a warm exchange with the PM Justin Trudeau, thanked him for looking after Indian citizens in Canada in these difficult times. Collaboration and partnership between India and Canada is vital to fighting the pandemic, including through medical research and supply chain management. BRICS Ministers of Foreign Affairs and International Relations held a meeting via video conferencing under the current BRICS chair, Russia. Minister of Foreign Affairs of Russian Federation Sergei Lavrov chaired the meeting. External Affairs Minister Dr. S. Jaishankar represented India. This video conference was convened in the backdrop of the COVID-19 pandemic crisis. The discussion centered around COVID-19 crisis, its impact and BRICS response. The BRICS foreign ministers also discussed the activities to be undertaken under Russia-BRICS chairmanship in 2020. Dr. Jaishankar highlighted the initiatives and various decisive steps taken early by India in the wake of the pandemic, including through Arogya Setu Citizen app and Pradhan Mantri Garib Kalyan package. He apprised the BRICS foreign ministers about the initiative to coordinate efforts to contain COVID-19 in South Asia and creation of COVID-19 Emergency Response Fund by the SAARC countries. The External Affairs Minister pointed out that the efficacy of traditional medicine systems to strengthen immunity should be recognized and that BRICS should support these efforts. A virtual meeting of BRICS health officials is envisaged on COVID-19 pandemic on the 7th of May, that is next month, to take the discussion forward. Now, the 11th session of the Petersburg Climate Dialogue witnessed India along with 30 other countries deliberating over ways and means to tackle the challenge of reinvigorating economies and societies after COVID-19. Representing India in the first virtual Petersburg Climate Dialogue, Union Minister for Environment, Forest and Climate Change Prakash Javadekar said that today, as the world is unitedly engaged in finding a vaccine for novel coronavirus, likewise we should have climate technology as open source, which must be available at affordable cost. Stressing on the issue of climate finance, Javadekar said the world now needs more. The Union Minister advocated for the plan of $1 trillion in grants to developing world immediately. Now, Spain's daily death toll from the coronavirus pandemic has fallen to 301 on Tuesday, far below record highs of 3 times as much in early April, which would allow the government to set a framework for regions to start phasing out one of Europe's toughest lockdowns. Since the 14th of March, most Spaniards have only been allowed out for grocery shopping or to go to the doctor, with the shutdown nearly paralyzing the economy and the labour market. The Health Ministry said the total fatalities since the start of the outbreak rose to 23,822, with the daily increase coming down from Monday's 331 and also well below record highs of over 900 earlier in the month. The number of diagnosed cases rose to 2,10,773 from 2,09,465 on Monday. New York cancelled its 2020 Democratic presidential primary election because of the coronavirus pandemic, infuriating former candidate Bernie Sanders' campaign and his supporters. They called Monday's decision to strike against democracy. The Democratic members of the State Board of Elections voted to nix the primaries. New York will still hold its congressional and state-level primaries on the 23rd of June. Commissioner Andrew Spano said he worried about potentially forcing voters and poll workers to choose between their democratic duty and their health. While there will still be other offices on the ballot, Spano reasoned it made sense to give voters an opportunity to choose in contested races, but not to have anyone on the ballot just for the purposes of issues at a convention. The results of the upcoming primary were largely symbolic, since Sanders, a U.S. Senator from Vermont, had already dropped out of the race, making Joe Biden the presumptive Democratic nominee. Still, the cancellation comes at a pivotal time for the former vice president, who is working to coalesce progressive support behind him and could find those efforts complicated. Sanders' campaign had asked the commissioners not to cancel the primary, noting that it helps select delegates who help determine the party's platform and rules. And that's all we have for the moment in this edition of Newsnight. But as we leave you, take a look at these this unique show of solidarity by the J&K Police, led by DGP J&K Dilbagh Singh. The police officers expressed solidarity with fellow policemen, doctors, paramedical staff, municipal workers and other COVID-19 workers in a solidarity sammelan held at police headquarters lawns, while observing all the social distancing norms and other protocols. Jammu-based police officers of all ranks participated in the Solidarity Sammelan. They held placards on different themes, including one for Sub-Inspector Harjeet Singh of Punjab Police, who had lost his hand and then it was reattached after a horrific incident with him when he was assaulted.